and welcome back to Morning Thailand. Now taking a look at political updates. Earlier over the weekend, Kun Suthep Theersuban and the PDRC members have met with 7 representatives of the business sectors, right? And he had already talked about the reform plan and such. Now, yesterday, it seems that there was a meeting between this particular group, these 7 representatives of the organizations that have met with another faction of the political side, the red shirts.
Yes, correct. Yesterday, the red shirt senior, led by Kun Thida Thawan, said, met with the group comprising of 7 private sectors that Kun Phai just mentioned. They organized the meeting to explore an exit from political impasse while expressing concern that another mass rally led by Kun Suthep Theersuban and his PDRC on Sunday might end in a stalemate and violence. The core organizations were the Board of Trade, the Federation of Thai Industry, and the Banker Association. The government has proposed proceeding with reform talk along with the holding of election on February the 2nd as scheduled, while the PDRC has proposed postponing of the poll until the reform is completed, which would take at least a year or a year and a half. Kun Nattawut Saiker, a caretaker deputy commerce minister, and another red shirt leader said that the PDRC's way was equivalent to a coup, and there was no legal basis for delaying an election for more than 1 year. Kun Nattawut said if Kun Suthep of the PDRC scraps the election, Kun Nattawut will be here in Bangkok with an army of red shirts to say that he and his supporter want to have the vote, one man, one vote equally. As well, Kun Nattawut said that referring to a premise from an academic that the rural poor deserve no right to vote equally with the urban rich is quite discrimination. Kun Thida Thawan also said that the red shirts could not just stand by and watch the country drift into anarchy. She said, we try to avoid violence, but the country is being dragged into danger. Not only just Kun Thida Thawan said, and Kun Nattawut Saiker, Kun Jatuphon Prompan, another core leader of the red shirts, said that he now concerned most that there is a big chance of having civil war in the capital, especially for the fact that the PDRC leaders are trying to call people nationwide to join their mass rally without considering that the government supporters may think in the same way, and that would actually just lead to the violence. He is now not fear for the election, but he quite fear for this time before the election period, because there might be violent incidents take place.
Right, but the red shirt still remain firm on their stance that they would support the upcoming election, right?
Yes.
Because that, according to the rule of law. However, another faction that did not seem to be cooperating that well is the Democrat Party. Yesterday, the Election Commission Secretary General Kun Puchong Nuttakom presided over the briefing for press and representatives from 54 parties on the party list candidacy registration. Some of them have raised concern over the safety and the easy preparations for the poll. However, the election commissioner said that they assure all representatives that all will be safe, free and fair, and the election would go on February the 2nd. Kun Puchong also asked the representatives from 54 parties to raise their hands to confirm whether their party would contest in the election, and those from the Democrat Party kept their hands down. Democrat Party representative Kun Pongsi Tharaphum said no decision would be made on the party's involvement in the election until this Saturday when the party's executive board meets. Kun Abhisit Vechachiwa, Democrat leader, said the party remained undecided whether it would field candidates in the election. He admitted that the party members have different opinions on the issue, and party branches across the country would assess all views before the Saturday meeting to make a conclusion. Kun Abhisit said that whatever decision is to be made on Saturday will be a painful decision anyway, adding that the party is willing to do if that could drive the country forward for a better future. He said national reform is a tough challenge facing Thailand these days. Meanwhile, he said that the Democrat Party has nothing to do with the People's Democratic Reform Committee, although some of the protesters are the past supporters of the Democrat Party. And earlier, a legal advisor of the Democrat Party, Kun Virat Kalayasiri, said the party would not be penalized or face party's dissolution if it fails to field candidates in the election. He said decision to field candidates in the election would be based on whether the election is legitimate or whether it was fair or whether the party is ready for election or not. He said that if the party decided not to field candidates in the election, it will be able to explain to the people. He also added that the February 2nd could be put off under the Constitution, citing a recent by-election scheduled on November 27th to fill 8 MP seats that has been left vacant by the resignation of 8 Democrat MPs. He also added that a royal decree had been issued by the Election Commission, later put off to February the 2nd when there was no candidate registering for the election, and that date could be put off, and Kun Yingluck and her cabinet, the acting cabinet, should decide quickly to avoid possible damages to the country if that is proceeded.
Oh, so while the Democrat Party as a whole is still undecided, the faction, at least one of them, is quite firm on their stance that right now the former Democrat Party MPs for Surat Thani province have announced that they will not run in the February 2nd election. The former MPs are Kun Thani Thước Suban, Kun Suthep Thước Suban, Kun Chen Thước Suban, Sopha Kanchana, Kun Sinit Lertkrai, and Kun Thirapat. The representative of these 7 Democrat Party branches have also announced their plan not to field candidates for the election. They cited the fact that that a just and clean election could not be guaranteed if the country political system is not now reformed, arguing that the MPs elected before such reform takes place would just be unacceptable to the people. Apart from that, Kun Alongkorn, the veteran Democrat MP, said on Wednesday, insisting that he will remain with the party despite the losing of his bid to the re-elected as deputy party leader. He stands firm that he will be with the party even though he did not hold any position on the new executive board. Not only just the Democrat Party and their MP, but also the former Commerce Minister Kun Mingkwan Sangsuwan announced his resignation of the Pheu Thai Party on yesterday as well. Kun Mingkwan Sangsuwan left the Pheu Thai Party and he will not take part in this coming election no matter what. He told the press that his resignation is effective since December 16 and the relationship between him and the party will still positive even though the party and him currently have quite different political stance. So right now being partyless, Kun Mingkwan will also not register for candidacy in this coming election.
Right. There's still more opinions coming toward the upcoming general election. Academics have called on the Democrat Party to quickly decide whether or not they would contest the election, and some of them even called on the Democrat to follow the rules, not play out of the games. Just
not only for the domestic attention. This the Thai election and also the political chaos, if we must say, quite caught attention of international stage as well, because yesterday Kun Surapong Tawichakchaikun again in his position as a deputy foreign minister, right now he claimed that now we have 50 countries expressing concern over the political chaos of Thailand. He said this marked the first time in the global community that 50 countries have expressed their support to a country. The countries have issued statements between December and yesterday in support of Thailand. They do not want Thailand to go astray, he said. As well, they want all parties in Thailand to initiate dialogue to settle the problems and say they should abide by constitution and democratic system. The latest country to release statements were India and Sri Lanka, joining the countries that issued the statement yesterday. South Korea and Bahrain. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has also expressed his support to the country and the government. Kun Surapong insists that he is not using the foreign countries to put pressure on the ongoing anti-government protests. However, he wants to warn the protester that any action that go against democracy will send the country backward. He considers this kind of protest as an act of hooliganism. That the protester plans to march to the Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawat's residence. The police have already now been alert to provide protection to the resident as well. Kun Surapong later claimed that he would have letters sent to the United Nations and human rights organizations to explain what he claims violation of human rights by the protester. However, despite what Kun Surapong claimed, Kun Ekanath Prampan, the PDRC spokesman, gave a bold comment on this matter yesterday that he would like to see the whole list of these 50 countries along with the letters. Because right now there are only 20 letters expressing concern over this issue that have been released to the public. So Kun Ekanath as well, he would like to ask the government to understand that not all countries in the world support the government. Also, the fact that this country, no matter how, what number exactly, support the democracy, doesn't mean that they support this government or oppose the PDRC rally.
Yeah. Right, and we've seen a lot of people's large turnout to support the protesters. And yesterday, Kun Suthep Theersuban even invited ambassadors and representatives of a certain number of countries to observe the activities and movement behind the stage of the protest, the PDRC as well. All right, and with that, we're taking a short break once again. And up next, there were still more comments coming out from the acting Prime Minister Kun Yingluck Shinawat, even though she's on a northeastern trip. She has expressed readiness for a talk with the PDRC co-leader Kun Suthep Theersuban, and also the DSI has already do something with the PDRC leaders and core members. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.